Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with this week's guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, if you're new to the show, these are all companies I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies, and I really recommend you check them out. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Wednesday Wisdom guest, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Home Campus. Whether it's scheduling, rosters, results, communication, Home Campus is a platform you will use every single day. Their eligibility and clearance platform alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com for more information, and don't forget to mention the podcast. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out their great products today. We also want to say thanks to Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Whether it's a simple social media post to celebrate a win or an entire newsletter to showcase the great things you're doing, the team at Gipper will have you up and running in no time. It's professional graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com and see all the ways that they can help you promote your program. We also want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant AD, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and while they were earning their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We want to thank our friends at Hometown. Hometown continues to change the game for ADs, principals, and coaches with their solutions that include, well, big surprise, digital ticketing. They're still the #1 digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges. But how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising, and a lot more? Go to Hometown. They're going to show you how to save time, raise more money, and bring your entire community together. That's hometown.com. Let's say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to show off your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. You put one of their units in your gym lobby or your main school hallway, it's going to be a magnet for your student athletes, your coaches. How about sponsors? The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check them out today. You're going to be glad you did. We want to say thank you to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. As an AD, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school, and our coaches just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, turn your school into a Huddle school. We want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything, for student athletes, for coaches, and for parents. And here's the cool thing. The information that would come back on our surveys, almost always overwhelmingly positive. We still got to hear from our squeaky wheel parents, but the surveys allowed us to hear their concerns, typically address their issues before they turned into something big. But having all of that positive feedback was incredibly valuable, especially if you're visiting with your principal or sometimes even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. And we'd like to thank Snap Mobile, particularly Snap Raise. If you've ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results, I'm telling you, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with tremendous success, and so will you. Check out all of their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. If you have been listening to the podcast the last couple of years, I'm hoping you remember our interview of about a year ago with Kristy Bayer. If you don't, you need to go back and listen to it because it was gold. Kristy is the director of athletics at Rockhurst University. That's in Kansas City. has a tremendous background in athletics. She was an All-American athlete in college, highly successful, record-setting volleyball coach. And now she is not just a leader at her school's campus, she's a leader on a national level, serving on a number of NCAA committees. So we're excited to have her back for her first segment of hopefully many on Wednesday Wisdom. Kristy Bayer, welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having me back. What a very nice intro.
Okay, well, I'm available for all of those events that you get invited to be your shout out coach. Um, let's go and jump right into it. It's a busy time for ADs, but there's also a lot happening. You and I were talking earlier, and you mentioned something that really caught my ear about how the NCAA is considering adding a fifth year of eligibility. And yeah, it just for an old guy like me that went to college in the 70s, I'm just thinking, what? 5 years? What's that all about? What can you share with our listeners about that?
Yeah, so for clarification purposes, it's on the legislative voting for NCAA Division Two. So at this point, Division One and Division Three are not. This is not up for vote for them. Only for Division Two. So it is a little bit unique. So we do our voting in January. So this is up for vote January of 2026 at the NCAA convention. So there's a couple ra areas of rationale for this. The first one being rooted in really in the academic merit of all this is getting kids to graduation, getting student athletes to graduation. Data has shown that majority of them do end up graduating in 4.5. Sometimes it takes longer. This would also give student athletes the opportunity to possibly earn an undergraduate and a graduate degree during their period of eligibility. Student athletes today, I mean, some of them are coming in with credits previously, and it could be an opportunity to, knock out 2 degrees within 5 years. So there are definitely some benefits of it, and just, having the opportunity to continue to play and live out your college athletic experience is also an amazing thing. I think back, if I was an athlete, I would have jumped at taking another year. I loved my experience. But then on the flip side, you have student athletes, 4 years. I didn't play a contact sport. It could be different if you play 4 years of a contact sport and you're just ready to be done, or you're a distance runner and your body's just worn from years of running. So, you also just might be in a different headspace in year five. I mean, what a fifth year, student athlete, where they are in their headspace and in their career path might be different than what an 18-year-old is, and it's just a different dynamic. So there's a lot of things to weigh on this. Currently, right now in Division Two, this is the first year where first time enrollees or freshmen, they can play up to 30% of contests right now and not have them count towards their eligibility. So this is something we're kind of dipping our toes in right now. So it will be interesting to see come January what the NCAA Division Two membership, which direction they go on this.
Um, wow, a lot of things there. I guess listening to you, thinking back, yeah, I probably would have been the same thing. Another year, I can stay. I don't have to grow up yet. It's also seems like it's kind of odds, with the other end of the spectrum. Parents are having their kids start school earlier and that sort of thing. They're trying to get them to grow up. Wow. Um, from a administrative standpoint, I'm sure there's some feelings on both sides. It's going to increase costs for financial aid. Another recruiting class. What are some of the things? I'm not asking you your opinion because I know you're on the committee, but what are some of the concerns that are being discussed from the administrative side?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, there's a couple things, if you recall back during COVID years, student athletes got that additional year. without having it count towards eligibility. So for that time period, it was a time period where it was just we were trying to really kind of get our recruitment cycles just back on a normal level. And we finally got the COVID kids out, and we're like, okay, we got a normal recruitment cycle. And then all of a sudden we're talking about the fifth year, which will then kind of log jam and kind of have some roster management concerns. I have a son that's a 2027 high school football prospect, and this could negatively impact his recruitment cycle just based on these fifth year kids, staying around. So there's a lot of things to look at, kind of taking away possible opportunities for prospective student athletes that are in high school right now. You also brought up a really good point about the financial aid piece. So especially for those private institutions that have a high price tag, at Division II, we use a partial scholarship model. So we have athletic aid and we also have merit-based academic aid. But,
Right.
for example, at our institution, once you have earned your undergraduate degree or once you've hit that 4 years, your merit-based aid goes away. So if you add that fifth year, you're ending up either having to foot the bill athletically with athletic aid for all of these fifth year kids, or, unfortunately just say, we do not have the funds for you. You're going to have to move on. So, there is a financial component that will probably impact the privates a little bit more than the public institutions, just based on the price tag and how we do the partial scholarships.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I guess to, reiterate, this is only being considered at the present time for Division Two. Has there been
Correct.
any unofficial talk about expanding this to the other levels?
Yeah, so there has been discussion at the other levels. Division One has a lot going on right now, from a legal standpoint, and I think their focus area is on just, taking care of what they've got going on right now, with House and just trying to get their ducks in a row. So this consideration is not on the table in their legislative cycle right now.
Okay. I'm going to throw a curveball at you because we
Hmm.
talked a little bit again before we started recording about I guess your thoughts, your feelings, maybe even opinions on the NIL, what's happening with NIL at the collegiate level. What can you share with our listeners who, again, primarily high school ADs and coaches?
Yeah, so I'll just speak from the Division Two standpoint. Um, we've had a lot of discussion about, what it was rooted and what it started about. It started, the original intent was for student athletes to be able to not be hindered because they were student athletes. So being able to, promote brands, earn income, run camps, do clinics. If they wanted to promote, a protein drink, being able to do that. That's what the intent of NIL was. It was never about paying players, pay for play. And I think it's just really gotten off the rails in terms of, um, you know, players demanding money, needing to have this amount of money to stay, using money for retention purposes. It should have been about being entrepreneurial or not hindering student athletes. And it really has just gotten off the rails. I 100% want student athletes to be able to go out there and, not be disadvantaged because they are a student athlete, to be able to go out there and earn that extra income. But I am against paying players from a retention standpoint or from a recruitment standpoint. So, at the Division Two level, really, no matter how much money we could come up with, we're not going to compete with those Division Ones. So, for example, if we had a men's basketball player and he's being, pulled away from us, goes in the portal, gets pulled away from us by a mid-level D1, we we simply would not be able to come up with the money anyway to keep him. So, we could create something, but in the end, he's probably going to end up going anyway. So what we need to do, instead of trying to create these funds, trying to create as best as we can a really good student athlete experience. Not just athletically, but academically, where when they leave here, a Rockhurst degree from an earning potential is going to mean more than, 15, 20,000 that they may get, one time they may get from an NIL situation.
Right. And that's such an important point that I think sometimes gets lost. In any team, you want your student athletes to want to be a part of that team. And so you talked about enhancing the student athlete experience. My boss used to say that at our school, and we were a private school, and he was absolutely right. We need to create reasons that our kids want to come here. And, hopefully that starts with the coach, but yeah, the money is there. It seems like you used to always hear coaches lamenting, D1 coaches, I guess, but probably all coaches. My kids can't even afford to buy a pizza and go to the movies, or, they can't fly home. We can't help them fly home if their mother's sick or something like that. And now all this money's available, but you never hear about it solving those problems. It's about other things, material things. Am I off the rails, or is any of this money going towards some of those things of just day to day for the Joe and Jill student athlete?
Well, of course, we live in a different world than probably some of those individuals that are getting funds of that nature. But I look at the salaries that, my Division II athletic employees have, and you know, then contrasted with some of the funds that some of these top Division I athletes are getting, and we've got it backwards. It's just unfortunate. We've got an athletic trainer crisis right now. We need to be paying them more. We've got an athletic communication crisis. We need to be paying them more. And it's hard to see funds at that level or money being thrown around at that high level, when I'm down here, at the Division II level, and we've got people working extremely hard, and I'm trying to find ways that I can get those people more money. So it's just we're in just a very mixed up world right now.
Yeah. I'm going to go off the rails here for a second because this recently happened. In Florida, we've had the transfer portal at the high school level for a number of years. It's a state statute that
Yeah.
you can play at three different high schools in a single year, different sports. And that started from a parent getting their state legislature to sponsor a bill that ended up being enacted. Recently, I've got a point here. Recently, some coaches and some high school programs were disciplined, fined, students were ineligible because it was found out the coach, who was kind of a high profile name, bought them and paid for things. They were already going to the school. It wasn't a recruiting thing, but they called it impermissible benefits. The coach is just trying to help the kids out. But this was a coach who was financially able to do it. We now have a state legislature that is sponsoring a bill that's going to theoretically allow coaches to do that, to provide, financial assistance to their students. And somebody made a very valid point. There's probably only two or three coaches in the state that can do that because Florida is probably the lowest paying state for its high school coaches in the country. And the guy said, can't we get a bill that's going to raise the salary of coaches? So it's to your point, hey, it's great that these kids have these opportunities, but how about
Mhm.
the people that are leading and teaching and coaching those kids?
Yeah, I mean, you think about the hours that coaches put in, assistant coaches put in, and the general public, sees coaching salaries of, the Power 4 football coaches or the basketball coaches, and they think college coaches or college athletic directors or administrators make a lot of money. But in reality, um, it is not a lucrative business to be in college athletics minus that, the higher D1s. So, you've got a lot of people working non-traditional hours, working with kids, trying to mentor, student athletes. You're right, they deserve to be paid more. But it's just it needs to be a shift in the thought process.
Right. Um, uh, I'm going to paint another picture, and then I want I'm hoping I can get your opinion on this. I just did an interview with a high school athletic director in the state of Georgia, County AD near Atlanta. You can look it up if you want to, listeners. But he was saying they have 13,000 students, high school student in all the schools that he's oversees. 13,000, and out of that 13,000 students, 12 have some kind of high school NIL deal. And the most um, lucrative one paid this one student athlete $1,000. So the point that he and I were making during that interview was that at the high school level, NIL is not this the sky's falling, it's going to ruin high school sports. But he talked about the 1%, and that's not even a 1%, 12 out of 13,000. But I think it's at least a discussion point. There's not that many student athletes, even at the college level, that are making these, crazy numbers. Um, do you have in your conference, let's say, do you have any that you're aware of, one percenters at the D2 level in your conference?
Yeah, again, not huge amounts. There's small brand deals, or there's in at D2 a lot of in-kind situations where, post here, we'll give you this product. Um, there's kind of these third party companies where you have merchandise with your name on it, your institution's name, and you get a cut of that. I know some people, um, some institutions have partnerships that way, but it's not anything where you know, it's going to be, the one percenters. It's not anything at our level, at least that I am aware of right now, that is a high level.
Right. Yeah. Again, we read about, this quarterback at XYZ University signs a big deal, or, basketball player, somebody, but those are, I think, the outliers compared to,
Hmm.
most of the student athletes we see.
Yeah, and you
What,
know what? And I'm, as you know, I'm a huge fan of social media, and I love people that brand themselves. And I'm not, against, especially, college kids or high school kids, just trying to, put their brand out there and make a little extra money, and put the work in. I think if student athletes are willing to put that work in and do something for it, that should be celebrated. What we should get away for, as I said, is kind of that here's your money, pay for play,
right.
demanding those funds. But I am all about people putting the work in to earn, that NIL money.
No, and I think that's a point that gets lost in the conversation quite a bit. I have to share this just because I know there was in the last, I'll go back, maybe in the last 2 years or so, there was a major Division I men's basketball team that refused to, they said,
Hmm.
we're not going to play this next game if we don't get our NIL money. And
Yeah,
I'm sure,
I
there's
remember.
more than one, but I know
Yeah.
some people that were involved with that. Um, Also, and to your other point about kids, student
Mhm.
athletes being able to market themselves. One of our podcast guests, Kate Fitzgerald, she was a beach volleyball player at Arizona State. She's created a company that is currently working to help student athletes find those opportunities. And she was one of the, I'm probably going to butcher this, I think she was one of the highest NIL paid student athletes at Arizona State during her time, because she went out and she got a local bank and some other local people that wanted to get involved and help an athlete, help support, somebody from the college and the community. So it's out there if you want to do that work. I'm going to
Mhm.
let you out with this. I know we've kept you for a long time, but um, you have done a great job of helping build and enhance, talk about enhancement, enhancing the experience, enhance the athletic program at Rockhurst. New sports, new opportunities. Speaking to our athletic directors or maybe to some parents who are listening, here's your elevator pitch. And you can take, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, about all things Rockhurst. What do you want to share with our listeners about your school?
Yeah, I think always it's about the right fit. And so, if you are a PSA, prospective student athlete, and you're looking for an institution that you're going to get a really valuable degree education when you leave, and I think people when they're going through the recruitment process, and I can say this because I am going through it with my son right now, I think people get blinded by the flash, the facilities, the Nike gear, the flash and the beauty of things that are really nice, but in the end, what really matters? So in the end, what really matters is the value of your degree. And at Rockhurst, you're going to get a very well-respected private education. You are going to be, I don't want to say handheld through this whole process, but do not get lost on this campus. Um, you are um, you are surrounded by people that are going to help you academically, athletically, mentally. No one slip, people do not slip through the cracks here. So you will be, through graduation, people will make sure that you are taken care of. And honestly, we talked briefly about the transfer portal. We have very, very few transfers that go into the portal here at Rockhurst. Our retention rates are excellent. As you know, as seen by, we've had the Division II Presidential Award of Academic Excellence since the existence. We've been in the top 10, which means that our athletes pursue to graduation at an excellent rate, top in the country. So in the end, don't get blinded by the flash or the talk. Look at the data. Look at in the end, after 4 years, what are you going to come away with? And so I think that's really important, not just for Rockhurst, but that's really just important recruitment advice for, parents and student athletes out there.
I love how you led with it. It's all about finding the right fit because
Hmm.
that is so true. And again, I was a small college guy, played football and ran track, so I had things to keep me busy. But that's something I would always ask my student athletes who are being recruited. What are you going to do when football season's over? Hey, are you going to like it here? Is there stuff to
Hmm.
do? Are there other people? Make sure you build that into your visitation.
Yep.
So great
Yeah.
points. Well, Kristy, thanks again for coming on. All the best moving forward. But if
Thank
one of our
you.
listeners wants to find out more about Rockhurst or maybe pick your brain, and listeners, you have a great resource here. What's the best way that they can connect with Kristy Bayer?
Feel free to DM me on LinkedIn, or DM me on Instagram or X. I'm on it all. So probably the best way would be through my socials or the staff directory at Rockhurst University, Kristy.Bayer, Bayer at rockhurst.edu.
Well, once again, Kristy, thanks for sharing with our listeners. And we are definitely, we're not going to wait 10 months. We're going to get you back on sooner.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
For our listeners, we appreciate you as well. And just a reminder that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Wednesday Wisdom just about every week and just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Before we go, of course, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors one more time. Now, remember, every single one of these sponsors, I use their product as an AD and it was great. If you're not using it or you're using a different one, please check out their website. Let's say thanks to Hometown. That's hometown.com. Sideline Interactive. That's sidelineinteractive.com. Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Gipper, you'll find them at gipper.com. Home Campus, go to homecampus.com. Vital Signs Wall of Fame, you'll find them at vitalsignswalloffame.com. Snap Raise, guess what? Snapraise.com. Huddle, you'll find them at huddle.com. And Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack, you'll find them at athleticsurveys.com. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.